On January 4th, Maggie will have been with us for 3 years. She came to us from a rescue mission in South Bend, Indiana. Now's the time to talk about how she's improved over the last 3 years. This deserves a good talk about. Hello anyone, I'm Scott Bain. They call me the Old Farmer. And I have with me today Mrs. Old Farmer, Marty, and Maggie the Farm Dog. And 3 years ago, on January 4th, Maggie came to us. So on January 4th, 2024, it will be exactly 3 years she's come to live with us. She was a rescue dog from Ohio that went to South Bend, Indiana to a rescue place for dogs, and then from there she came home with us, a 4-hour drive. But maybe we should start with a little bit more history. And the first Bichon Frise dog that we had was Mimi. And Marty, would you first of all thank you for coming in and talking about the dogs, and why don't you start out with talking a little bit about the history of Mimi and why we progressed to having Maggie.
Sure. Well, Mimi entered our lives through a friend of mine. We decided that it was time to have another dog after having lost our last one and saying we were never going to do that again because it was hard to go through the loss, of course, of a pet. But there's just a hole in your heart when you don't have a pet. And a friend of mine helped me by going with me to the local Humane Society shelter, and I kind of scouted out dogs that I thought Scott might like. The shelter was close to where I was working at the time, and it was quite far away from our home, so I did a little preview before we went together. And I had picked out 3 or 4 dogs that I thought might be possibles. Mimi was one of those dogs, but I didn't really think she was a contender. So I brought Scott back to the Humane Society shelter when we had some time, and we visited the dogs. They brought the dogs out one at a time for us to meet them and spend a little time with them. Mimi was the second dog that was brought out to us, and she sat on Scott's lap a little bit, and I said, well, I'll go see if the third dog is ready. And by the time I got back, Mimi was up inside Scott's jacket with her little head poking out, and she had decided that we were her people.
Now, Mimi was a very unique dog, and she probably learned about 6,000 words. Now, this wasn't all overnight. It was a 5-year process. We had Mimi for probably about 10 years. And she wanted to learn as much as she could. In fact, she wanted to be able to speak like we did. And she was very frustrated that she couldn't. So I showed her different ways that she could communicate. And when I had some health issues, she became a service dog, and she decided to do it on her own, and she helped me tremendously. She died in my arms on Halloween, and then the following January, we finally got Maggie.
It took a while to find Maggie. We had decided that we would like to try to find another Bichon Frise. Mimi had been such a great dog and so in tune with Scott and his health problems that we wondered if that was a characteristic of the breed or if it was just something that was unique to Mimi. But we had really fallen in love with her, and so we spent quite a bit of time online looking at various shelters and rescue programs and so on. Lost out on a couple of Bichons that were up for adoption. We didn't move fast enough or whatever. But we did learn about Maggie, and it was a very conscientious rescue program that we found her through, and we had to go through quite an extensive screening process, recommendations from friends and so on. So it was clear they were trying to find the right home for their dogs, and we were very happy that they selected us to bring Maggie home. And it turned out that she did have quite a few issues that we hadn't dealt with before, but Scott has just a very he has a very well-defined instinct for handling and communicating with animals of all types. He grew up on a farm, and obviously the old farmer, and spent his whole life with animals, and he just has a way of bonding with them that's beyond anything I've ever seen. So it took a while. Maggie was rather fearful isn't quite the right word, but leery maybe, very wary of people and being picked up and being handled. It was clear that something had happened to her that made her somewhat fearful, like I said, and so we had to proceed very cautiously, very slowly, and just let her come to terms and with her new situation and realize that she was safe here, she could trust us. We were consistent. Right away we set up predictable routines so she would know what was happening when, and we found that that really works well for her. We use certain verbal signals, words, certain gestures. We've set up some little rituals at certain times that we find makes her feel really secure and comfortable.
The animal shelter rescue mission thought she was a problem dog, and they wanted someone that had experience with troubled animals and being on the farm. We boarded horses, and one of the horses that we had boarded, a white Lipizan, in fact there were two of them, the owner sold them, and then after a while we got a phone call that said he had to buy the horses back because the person was abusing them. One horse he had to put down. It was a beautiful stallion. And the second one, Imp, short for Emperor, they were both show horses, like the white Lipizan, where they would do all the different tricks. That's what these horses could do. And he had lost an eye because of the abuse. And we brought him back to our farm and didn't charge anything. We just wanted the horse in a safe environment, and so at no charge, because we were running a dairy farm. What's one horse going to cost in a dairy farm? It costs nothing. And my father kept saying, stay away from the horse because it was scared of humans and may attack me. Well, over several months, we became good friends. I didn't think there'd be a problem taking Maggie. They thought she was an escapist and a biter. And Maggie doesn't bite and she doesn't escape. What the problem was she didn't like leashes. She was scared of them. Maybe it was because when she was a breeder dog, she was abused by a leash. But she learned to relax. We took our time. One of the hardest things, and we're still working 3 years later, is she doesn't have much self-worth. She doesn't think she's important. You know, that you need to have that in an animal just like you would a person, to let them know that they are important. That doesn't mean they run your life or anything, but you take your time with them and they are important too, and what they think is important. And if you can bring that back out, and she's getting there, she's getting better. She relaxes even more and is even more trusting. And she's starting to realize this is her family, and we're going to stay together. It used to be when we went on car trips, just errands, and we always bring her along when I go along. We never leave her alone. She was always scared on the way out, thinking that we were going to leave her somewhere. Well, we took time and many trips for her to realize that she's coming back home with us, and that I can even say hi to another dog if we see another dog, and that doesn't change anything in the relationship that we have. Is there more to go in the future? Yes, it's an ongoing process, but I think we are seeing that she is over the hump, and my personal opinion is I think she's going to be as unique as Mimi was, maybe even more so, because she has a quietness about her that comes through, and her own personality. We didn't try to force a personality on her. We let her personality come out. So I think there's strong potential that at the 5-year mark that she's going to be at least equal to Mimi, if not surpass her for uniqueness in being a dog.
You know, I'm glad you brought up her quietness, her quiet nature. I think that is one thing that I've noticed. She's very observant and aware of what's going on. She oftentimes she'll just be kind of watching and paying attention to everything that's going on around her silently. She doesn't vocalize very much at all, especially when she's on our lap or in our arms like this, or if we're out and about on errands. She's just quietly watching, taking it all in. But I think she's a very observant animal. She pays a lot of attention to her surroundings. And the other thing that you commented on that I still find very interesting with her, she will lead us on a little chase around the house when we need to pick her up for something. But outside, she stays very close by to us. She does not like to be very far away. I mean, she's always on a leash, but she's not trying to distance herself at all. She's constantly turning around to make sure that we're close by, that she's still with us, or we're still there. And I just think that's it's almost a contradiction, but it's something that's very interesting with her. So.
Well, I think she's playing with us when she's chasing. We have to chase her around the house because for this video, I picked her up off the chair that she was laying in, and she didn't hop down or anything. She just came into my arms, and then I gave her to Marty, and because I had to start all the equipment, I couldn't have her on my lap. But if she's playful, we have to chase her.
And we've kind of turned it into a game,
yes,
too, by, exaggerating our facial expressions and talking to her in a fun way, and you can tell she's enjoying it.
That's her form of playing.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't play much with toys.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, her favorite toy is cardboard. She likes to chew it up. She doesn't eat it, she just chews it up. She likes the texture. And so we have to keep her supplied with cardboard that's safe for her to chew, so that she has her own favorite little toy. Well, that's kind of the update now. She's coming along very well. She knows she's with family now, and she watches out for us as we watch out for her. And I'm excited to see how she's going to be even better in the future. Well, that's about the tale of it right now. So let me just say thank you for watching this video. If you stayed all the way through it, be kind to someone today, and be safe. And thank you for watching.
Before we go, thank you to our subscribers who helped us reach over the 1,000 subscription mark. It's very humbling to receive the support from our subscribers. Thank you. I will always try to give you accurate information, and I'm not worried if you disagree in comments. Just remember, youngsters may read your words. Well, this is the old farmer Scott Bain saying, be well, be safe, and be kind to someone today.
Don't forget to click like, subscribe, share, or ring the bell buttons on the original Old Farmer channel. We enjoy reading the comments that you leave, and they do help the channel, so keep them coming. And once again, thank you for watching the original Old Farmer.
The VFW National Home for Children, providing families of veterans and active duty military opportunities for growth and development in a nurturing community. Please consider a donation to help their children and families. I.C. Rhodes speaking.